Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features the Astonishing X-Men #2, cover dated April 1995. Cover by Joe Madureira, inked by Tim Townsend, featuring Sabretooth versus Holocaust, with a little cameo by Blink here down in the corner. We'll see what her association is with this particular scene later on in the issue itself. This is a really cool cover in many ways. Great drawing of Age of Apocalypse Sabretooth here, and I've always liked the design of Holocaust battlesuit. But I do have a criticism of this cover, and it is the background, which is this kind of blue Starry Night background, which actually obscures, in my opinion, elements of Holocaust's battlesuit. So he's kind of blending into the background there with the double lighting on the suit. So I do think that that was a poor choice by the colorist, who's likely Steve Buccellato, who's the interior colorist of the issue. But that criticism aside, a very nice cover. Let's open this one up to the splash page, and that is how Madureira has been drawing the title to this point. He's given us a splash page in the previous issue, followed by a double page spread, and he does the same with this one, which really gives his art the limelight to shine. And this is a great shot of Rogue in the middle of a fleeing crowd of humans, and she wants to call out to them. Sorry doesn't seem enough, because these human beings are being culled by Homo Superior, by mutants under the rule of Apocalypse. And where are they for this scene? Well, they're in the remains of Chicago. So you can see here a ruined building, and all of these red glowing devices in the sky are probes sent in by Holocaust in order to calculate his body count. So a very dynamic double page spread here, with the humans fleeing for their lives in panic. And the creative team over here: Scott Lobdell, writer; Joe Madureira, penciler; Dan Green and Tim Townsend credited as inkers. Now, as near as I can tell, Dan Green only inks the first 3 pages, the splash and the double page spread, and the rest of the issue is inked by Tim Townsend. Steve Buccellato and Digital Comedian on color art. Chris Eliopoulos, letterer, and the title of this particular chapter is No Exit. So Rogue is thinking, if we can't find a way to calm these people, they're going to trample themselves to death before we get the chance to get them clear of here before the Reapers arrive. So that's what she and a particular grouping of X-Men are there to do, to help get the humans out of Chicago before Holocaust culls it of its human populace. And we'll learn what becomes of the corpses of the dead humans a little later in this issue. So this is an interesting layout on the page here, which really gives pride of place to Sunfire, and he is freaking out, and that's because of his particular history with Holocaust, and with Holocaust's annihilation and genocide of Japan, which of course is Shiro Yoshida's native country. And I really like the costume design for Sunfire in the Age of Apocalypse. It's a really cool design. And we get a little clue as regards why he is the way he is in this particular reality later in the issue. Very classic John Madureira angle here on this human that's running for his life, with the popped eyes and teeth, everything else in silhouette. It's nicely done. So Rogue determines to deal with Sunfire, and Sunfire freaking out. Blink is suggesting that she might be able to do something, but Rogue says no, she's going to handle it personally. And we'll see what Blink's power is, what she could have done with Sunfire a little later in the issue. So here we go. This is another great page, and this page really shows to great effect the digital coloring and what is now possible in this new era of digital coloring. So we've got the speed lines here for Sunfire as he's taking out these probes, and says, nothing, not all your probes, he's addressing Holocaust, nor your army of Reapers will protect you from my atomic flame. And yeah, the digital coloring here just looks excellent for the rendering of the atomic flame. And here we see the background below Rogue as she's flying in the air. We see the background of the fleeing humans, and it is blurred out. So another digital tool that wasn't available in the era prior to the digital computer coloring era. And I think it's effective here. I think sometimes that tool is used to poor effect, but here it's used nicely. And so Rogue tells Sunfire that she knows what's going on with him, but he counters, no one knows what Holocaust and his father have cost me. No one. So Rogue uses her power here on Sunfire, and we're going to get a great anchor image as well in connection with that. That's really excellent. So great spotting of blacks on this image, and again, great use of the computer coloring as well. And the narrative captions indicate it is something she rarely ever does, and with good reason. By using her own tactile triggered ability to siphon Sunfire's atomic flame, she understands this particular act is not without its repercussions. And this is interesting because this hints that Rogue, in this Age of Apocalypse reality, under Magneto's tutoring and training, has a greater control and a greater, what do I want to say, a greater kind of acceptance of the risks and outcomes of the use of her power. Unlike Rogue in the regular reality, where she is constantly agonized over the use of her power. Here she's more confident in its use and more targeted and directed and at ease with the consequences in many ways. So on the ground, Morph is watching what's happening up in the sky. Again, good use of coloring here, indicating Sunfire's atomic flame power. Then he takes charge of the humans, telling them to keep heading east along the riverbed. That's an interesting point, that the river then is dried out in Chicago. That's interesting. And then he thinks to himself, the bad news is Sunfire has never been the most filled enchilada on the lunch tray. So Morph here in this team kind of provides a lighter perspective on all of the grimness that's going around. And that's a good ingredient that Lobdell has added in to the title, because otherwise it would just be too dark, perhaps. So he asks the question that readers would be asking: how's Rogue going to deal with hanging out in his head? But she deals not too bad with it, as I was saying earlier. So here we see her getting Sunfire to power down, and we're going to get a look at Sunfire without his atomic flame on, so to speak. And here we get this is interesting storytelling, where we zero in on her iris and pupil, and then we get to see what she's seeing. And again, that's an interesting visual language designation of Rogue absorbing Sunfire's memories. And we get to focus in on a pivotal moment in his life. So we see him here, where he is the version of himself that we're familiar with from our regular reality, but Apocalypse is emerging from this lake of blood, and we see all the corpses by the side of the lake there. And in the narrative captions, we have our explanation of what's going on here in this montage of Sunfire's memories. Then the memories which plague Shiro Yoshida every day of his life and every hour of that day would have no more power over Sunfire. As it is, he can still smell the dead who were his family and friends. He can feel his arms pinned by Nemesis. So this is Nemesis here. And it looks a little bit like Sabretooth, but it isn't. It is a different character, and we're going to see later in this issue who Nemesis became. So this, of course, is Apocalypse, and he's looking towards Sunfire with his arms pinned by Nemesis. He can taste the blood, gasp for air, see Apocalypse's grinning death's head, and remember his own lungs filled with liquid crimson. So this is a brutal scene where Apocalypse drowns Sunfire, or attempted to drown him anyway, and we get Sunfire's point of view on Apocalypse as he drowns him in a lake of blood, the blood of his kinsmen and countrymen. So that's why he has a real mad-on for Holocaust and Apocalypse. So Rogue sees it all, and she says, he powers down, and Morph grabs the pair of them as they fall from the sky, and Sunfire here curses Rogue, "You had no right, my shame, my failure is my own." But she says, "I'm only sorry I didn't know about it years ago. So I could have made you understand you weren't to blame for Apocalypse's actions." And notice too that Rogue is able to absorb Sunfire's powers without them actually manifesting in her, which means again that she's got more control over her power, her mutant power, than she does in the regular reality under Charles Xavier's tuition, which implies that Magneto in this reality has been, for many of the mutants that he's trained, a better teacher than Professor X was. And that's ironic because the whole of the rest of the Age of Apocalypse storyline is all about how grim the world is without Charles Xavier. But there is this other side of the scales to be considered. In any case, Sunfire settles down and agrees to join with his team members in helping the human beings flee and get to a safe location away from Holocaust and company when they arrive. And then our scene switches to Westchester County, the ruins of the X-Mansion, and we zero in on Magneto, and he's seated on the edge of a sofa there. This is a nice shot here, a nice quiet shot. And this is a quiet scene between Magneto, who has his infant son there, he's cradling in his arms. That's Charles, he's gotten him to sleep. And we've Bishop there, and Bishop is giving out about how Magneto is hiding there in the X-Mansion while the X-Men are scattered around the globe risking their lives. But Magneto, with authority, tells Bishop to hush and that he'll wake his son, and explains to Bishop that Bishop has got this crazy story, that this isn't the right reality, that things are different from how they ought to be. And Magneto makes the point, well, if he acts on Bishop's say-so, he's going to sacrifice all of their lives, their reality, and he doesn't know if he's going to be able to do that. Bishop counters that he's explained as best he could, that none of this is right, and Magneto comes back with, "Tell me, have you ever had a child?" "No, I didn't believe you had. For if you knew what it was like to hold a life in your hands, to feel his breath upon your cheek, to hold him through the night and promise he'll wake in the morning, then perhaps you'd know that a child is pure love, and love is never an accident. Tomorrow, as you say, this world might have to die. Please give me tonight to say goodbye to my son." That's really powerful, emotional writing from Lobdell, and it's nicely told in the art by Madureira. And again, great use of the computer coloring as well. And interesting here to see what's sometimes called the screen door effect in the inks being matched in the digital coloring there as well, indicating the wall behind Bishop's, the close-up of his three-quarter profile. Yeah, so nice work on these pages, a nice little quiet scene. And then we're back to action, specifically here in the remains of Manhattan. It's Apocalypse's stronghold, that's where he's headquartered. And he's raging here because of what's going on in Amazing X-Men. He shouts here that Abyss should have stopped the X-Men's momentum in Maine, yet the Eurasian High Council Sentinels are nonetheless evacuating humans by the thousands. So he's really angry here. He says he's tolerated Magneto and his pathetic resistance for too long. So he calls his factotum here, Rex, his PA, his personal assistant, and he's looking for the location of the X-Men's base. So Rex has used results from tracking Blink's teleportation, which was shown in the first issue of this series, Astonishing X-Men #1, and he's got the results. So, according to analysis of Blink's transspatial trajectory, they're located in the dead zone formerly labeled Westchester, specifically the former residence of, and so Apocalypse knows the long dead man by the name of Charles Xavier. So he wants his entourage prepared. He's going to handle this personally. He's going to Westchester. He's going to the X-Mansion. So that's coming up next. But then we switch back to Chicago. That's a great establishing shot of the ruins of the city. What's left of it, as the narrative caption makes plain. And we've got Sabretooth watching with Wildchild, over his shoulder, and saying, from here the city almost looks peaceful in an empty, tragic sort of way. So Sabretooth wants Blink to do something for him, to transport him, and she knows what he's asking for and begs him not to ask her for it. You want me to teleport you to him, don't you? You're asking me to help you commit suicide. But Sabretooth calms her down and says he's not trying to do any such thing. He's just trying to buy Rogue and the rest of the team some time. He knows that he and Kyle can't stop Holocaust on their own, but we can give the rest of you a chance to get the humans out. And then Blink says that she'd never told anyone before, but that she prays late at night. So this is an interesting scene between Sabretooth and Blink. She says, sometimes it's just to let him, that's God, know how confused or mad or sad I am, just someone to talk to. But every night, no matter what, I say thank you. Thank you for putting Victor Creed on this world. I thank him because you're the one who rescued me from Abyss all those years ago. So we're getting, throughout these various issues, little hints about backstories for characters and their relationships, like a deep history, a 20-year history of the alternative world where Charles Xavier died in Israel 20 years previously. And, Sabretooth is hard-nosed, but when Blink asks him, that's pretty stupid, he says quietly, I don't think it's stupid at all. Stupid is not fighting, it's giving up. So we have a heroic version of Sabretooth in this reality, one in which he redeemed himself. He makes plain here that he needs one other thing from her after he takes me out, so he is admitting that, it is a suicide mission, and make no mistake, you will. I need you to kick his butt all the way back to hell and tell him that was for Victor Creed. Can you do that? And she says yes. But they're interrupted by Rogue, who arrives and determines that she's not going to let Sabretooth and Wildchild get killed. So Sabretooth gets ready to fight her. I really like this shot here. This is distinctive of Madureira in this era. Just the way he has kicked out Rogue's lower leg there. It's very distinctive of his style in this era, and it's dynamic, but it's a different anatomical dynamism than you'd get with the likes of Jim Lee, let's say. It's distinctive of Madureira, and I like it. So now Blink uses her power, displaces Rogue for a fraction of a second, which puts Rogue unconscious, and that's what Blink could have done with Sunfire earlier. So now we know. So now she uses her power to send Sabretooth to Holocaust, and she says, thank me, Mr. Creed, by coming home. So instantaneously, Sabretooth and Wildchild are transported to not where he was expecting, Indianapolis, Indiana. And Sabretooth makes the point of all the cities left standing in what used to be the United States, and Holocaust picks Indianapolis to call. Means he's either playing his version of a game or there's a specific reason. So we don't know what that is at the moment. But again, it's part of the deep history I know what it is. It's coming up shortly why it's Indianapolis. We're going to get that information shortly. And Sabretooth says, in regards to the specific reason, why don't I think I'm going to like the answer either way? Well, we shall see. So he wakes up Wildchild by yanking on the chain. So it's an electrified chain. And now Wildchild's ready and alert. So he gets a scent of who else except for Holocaust. So again, great use of the digital art on Holocaust here, rendering this very unique costume, this suit he wears, which contains his life force, let's say, and we'll learn a little bit more about it towards the end of the issue. So a great shot here of Sabretooth with Wildchild on the chain, and Holocaust, in the best tradition of villains who think they're about to kill their quarry or enemy, basically gives Sabretooth information that he otherwise wouldn't. He says here that with the cold people, what he needs them for is fodder. The survivors have become genetic raw material for my infinite processing plant. Since you're going to die anyway, I can tell you it's 20 miles due north of here, so that's why he's in Indianapolis. I ordered my people to drop off the bodies. So Sabretooth says here, let me get this straight. The processing plant, the one that fuels all your infinites, is right up the road? Exactly. Information you'll be taking to your grave, but no. So the guy's here smiling. You get all that kid, and he lets Wildchild loose. And this shocks Holocaust because he thinks, is this some kind of trick? Is Wildchild possessed of some level of intelligence? So he evades those shots from Holocaust's hand-mounted cannon, and then Sabretooth attacks. Let's just say he's more of a man than you are, and leave it at that. So a mystery for another day in terms of what is up with Wildchild, his mutation and his level of cognition. So Holocaust is supremely confident. He thinks it's madness. You can't believe you can stop me on your own. Sabretooth retorts, stop you? Nah, let's just see about finishing the job Magneto started on you all those years ago. So again, the hinting about why Holocaust is the way he is, why he's in that battle suit. By the way, did I forget to mention how much I like your new life support armor? So that is a threatening hint of what Sabretooth is up to. Great action on this particular page from Madureira. A nice dynamic panel layout as well, in order to kind of convey the action visually as well. So let's see how this fight pans out between Sabretooth and Holocaust. So Holocaust says that he's adjusted to his current state. The taunts don't mean anything to him. But Sabretooth mocks him, you seem adjusted. And then he thinks, I'm actually getting under his skin what there is of it. Because probably the first time in years anybody thought to mix it up with him. That's interesting. Watch it, Vic. You're starting to enjoy this. And now Holocaust reveals as Nemesis. So that was him pinning Sunfire's arms earlier in the issue with the flashback to Japan. And so that character has changed into this character. I was well on my way to inheriting the throne of Apocalypse, but Sabretooth mocks him that seat's kept warm for nobody. He's about survival of the fittest. But during this, Holocaust has been setting Sabretooth up to have a building fall on top of him, and there it does. So the masonry falls right on top of him, and Holocaust thinks that he's victorious. And so he says here, I was originally content to be merely a nemesis, an adversary, a source of irritation, until Magneto felt the need to ruin me as revenge for some imagined slight. So that's why he's in the life support bodysuit armor. And then we get a little reference here to, again, the deep backstory between these characters. You killed his daughter, so that's Wanda. And that story is told in X-Men Chronicles #1. And Holocaust's perspective is that Magneto should have considered it an honor that he killed Wanda. And Sabretooth just drops a load of masonry on top of him, cracking the armor a little bit, which we can see here. And he says to Sabretooth, as he uses his power on him, Odd, from where I stand, you're the one who isn't looking well. Tell me, Sabretooth, healing factor aside, do you bleed internally much? Now I've got things to do. Why don't you be a good little cat and curl up but look at the shock on his face. That's really well rendered there by Madureira. That looks so good. And another great anchor image here of Sabretooth just launching himself at Holocaust. And here he roars. He hears the growl as if it is thunder upon a distant horizon, smiling to himself as he recognizes the noise is coming from within. In the 5 years he's been with the X-Men, there has always been a side of him he was holding back until now. So now no holds barred fight between Sabretooth and Holocaust, and he rips the helmet off his life support armor and says, if I'm checking out, Holocaust, don't even pretend I ain't taking you with me. So it looks like he's got him. But last page, as he drops to his knees and goes unconscious, dies. This is really interesting, just the way that it's drawn and rendered with the digital art as well. So Holocaust appeared to have emptied out of his suit, but he reconstitutes himself and is able to survive without the helmet, and says, nice try, Victor. And earlier Sabretooth told him, "Don't call me Victor, you've not got the right." So now he thinks he's dead. He uses his name, he addresses his name with condescension. Next month, Armageddon. So the stakes are so high in this Age of Apocalypse series all the time. Great art on this page. Great combination of the blackline art and the digital art, both of them working really well together, neither one overpowering the other, a nice blend that was sometimes lost in the early era of digital coloring, but it works very well here. So I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on Astonishing X-Men number 2. If you did, please like the video on YouTube, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.